Hey everybody, this is Rich Formidoni, Product Manager for Korg USA. I'm very happy to be back here with our good friends at Craft Music who have already got some great bundles set up for Kronos. And today we're going to take you a little bit deeper into Kronos than what you may have seen on other videos. So let's check it out. So Kronos is our new flagship workstation keyboard. Right now we're looking at the 61 key version with semi-weighted keys, velocity sensitive with aftertouch, and we also make a 73 key and an 88 key, both of which use our RH3 graded hammer action piano keys. All three versions have a beautiful, huge touch view color display, this great control surface with sliders, knobs, and switches, the vector joystick, a backlit XY joystick, ribbon controller, 2 assignable switches, so plenty of hands-on control, which is great because there are so many features in Kronos that make it pretty much the ultimate live performance instrument. So I'll show you a few of those. Most important things that you'll notice for live performance is setlist mode. Setlist lets you combine programs and combis and sequences and have them all at the ready on one screen right in front of you. So as I'm looking at setlist here, I have 16 slots, and each one of them can be a program or a combi or even a sequence. And as you can see, I've got some text right up here above the slots, and I can program that. So for instance, if I have a solo, I can remind myself of that, or if I need to know that a song's in a specific key. So really handy for live performance. And what's even cooler is if you jump to the Edit tab, you can cut, copy, paste, and insert the slots. So you don't have to worry about programming them in the correct order. You can just jump to a program, and right from the drop-down menu, there's an Add to Setlist command. Then when you jump back to setlist mode, it'll put the sound in right where you had previously selected it. And if you want to move it, just press Cut, jump over to a different slot, put it wherever you want, and press Paste. So it's really easy to organize your sounds for live performance. And while I'm here, another very cool thing I can show you is our smooth sound transitions. So as I'm playing one sound, I can jump to another one. And the original sound stayed because I had the sustain pedal. None of the effects were lost. None of the notes stopped playing when I switched to the new one. That works in combis as well. So if I play a combi, switch to a new combi, the original combi kept playing. We're able to do this without sacrificing the number of effects you can use, which is a very cool thing. So smooth sound transitions, very useful for live performance, and setlist mode is a great way to show that off. Now we're going to dig a little bit deeper into each of the 9 synthesis engines within Kronos. The first one is SGX1. This is our acoustic grand piano engine. Now as you can see, we've got a beautiful graphic display of a piano here, and you can actually choose from 30 different types of pianos, German and Japanese varieties. So these will affect the tonality, the velocity response, and some other aspects of the sound as well. Now over here on the right, you can see all the different ways that you can interact with the piano. So I can transpose, shift the octaves, adjust the stereo perspective to be from the player's point of view or from the audience point of view. And I can do some cool things like raise and lower the lid. I can adjust the release time, which kind of gives you the same effect as having very old felts on the hammers of your piano. So you find a natural balance there for the piano that you want, and you can adjust the velocity, bias, and intensity. Now the bias will compress one range while expanding another. So it'll give you the full dynamic range from pianissimo to fortissimo, but it'll give you a darker or brighter tonality. Velocity intensity adjusts how velocity modulates the volume. So if you lower it to negative 100, for example, volume stays the same, but as you change the velocity, the tone of the piano still changes. Now if you raise it to positive 100, as you play very softly, it gets much, much quieter, and as you play hard, it gets much louder. So the range is expanded there, and 0 is, of course, a happy medium. Down here on the bottom are the different components that make up the piano. So here I can adjust damper resonance, and I'll exaggerate it to give you an example. You can also adjust the amount of damper noise. What that allows you to do is to hear the sound of the damper rising and falling on the strings. Related to that is mechanical noise. So this will give you the effect of the keys falling and returning into place as you play. And you've got another adjustment down here for note release. Our next synth engine is EP1, and this is our electric piano synthesis engine, and what it does is it recreates 6 different kinds of electric piano. We've got a Mark I, Mark II, Mark V, the popular Dyno mod, and 2 different flavors of reed electric piano. So, as we choose one here, we can see that the top panel of the instrument is right there, and this particular sound is called Herbie's Butterfly EP. And that's because we spent a wonderful day with Herbie Hancock, actually working with him to design this sound to meet his needs. So you could hear the natural vibrato of the instrument is there. You can adjust the intensity and speed. And we've also added an amp and speaker cabinet model, so you can actually have the complete experience of the instrument right there. There are also insert effects that are built into the engine, so they don't take up the insert effect slots that are universal to Kronos. This effect is built into EP1. So there are lots of different choices here, and you can see we've got graphics for all these cool effects. So if we choose a popular phaser, for example, got other varieties as well. The next synth engine that we're working with is our CX3 tone wheel organ modeling engine. And what's cool about this is the sliders that are on the left side of the display actually function as drawbars, just as they would on a real tone wheel organ. So you have the entire tonal palette of an organ, and I just push the joystick up here to switch our rotary speaker emulation from slow to fast. The rotary speaker emulation here is very, very cool, because here's a separate section for the horn and the rotor, and individually for these 2 sections you can adjust how fast the fast speed is, how slow the slow speed is, acceleration, deceleration, to the point where you can adjust where the microphone is positioned. Even when the rotary speaker slows down, you can decide where the mic is. So very, very cool stuff. We've also got options for percussion, second and third, and you can also split the keyboard. So just by pulling down on the joystick, I can have 2 different manuals playing at once. And we've got some cool tricks in here like a wheel brake. And now you can do it without burning out the motor in your organ. The next synth engine on our guided tour is the Poly 6 EX, and this is a recreation of the classic Poly 6 analog synthesizer. The Poly 6 is really good at recreating pads and string sounds, and I'll show you a classic Poly 6 string example. And you can see as you touch the picture of the instrument, it zooms in and you get the entire control panel from the classic Poly 6. So you've got all your controls here, and you can switch over to the mod and ARP page where there is a built-in arpeggiator. So if you're playing a sound like a bass, for example, there's a terrific funky bass here for the Poly 6. And we'll jump in there, go to the mod and ARP page, and we can turn the arpeggiator on. And get some instant arpeggiation without even turning on Karma. Now the Poly 6 also shares its chord memory function with the rest of Kronos. So you can actually program an entire chord to be played on one key, and we've got that available in our common page. So you can actually specify a chord right there and play it just by triggering one key. Now the next synth engine I'd like to show you, there are quite a few if you haven't already guessed, is the MS-20EX. So very similar to the Poly 6, this is a recreation of our classic MS-20 mono synth. So the MS-20 is known for its very aggressive filters and its very versatile sound. And you can see we've again recreated the control panel, and we've given you access to hands-on control here with the control surface on the left. So as you're making adjustments here, you'll see the changes reflected on the display. So we wanted to make these synth engines a lot of fun to design your own sounds with, and a big part of that is being able to have this hands-on control. So we've definitely maintained that. And along the same lines, we've given you the patch panel of the MS-20. Now here's something cool. The MS-20EX that is in Kronos goes quite a bit deeper than what was available in our Legacy Collection software recreation of the MS-20. So we've got some more patch points which give you added flexibility, and just like in the other iterations of the MS-20, you can create physical patches just by touching the display. The next synthesis engine is AL1. This is our analog modeling synth engine that is a new synth from the ground up. So it's Korg's vision of what an analog synthesizer should be today. Now, we can zoom in here and see that there are two different instances of AL1 running at once. In each program, you can have two of these synthesis engines going at the same time. So in this example, we've got two AL1s playing. You'll notice that on many of these sounds we give you little clues as to what to do with them. So for example, the title here is Analog Orchestra Knob 6. So naturally you want to reach over to Knob 6 and see what's going on. So it's giving you the effect of purely analog strings, adding some analog brass in there as well. Now another very cool thing that I want to take advantage of and show you real quick is our on-screen pads. So right from here you can control 8 different chords. And where you touch the chord on the display from low to high determines its velocity. So that's a very convenient way to play live. The next engine is Mod 7. And this is our wave-shaping variable phase modulation synth engine. So it recreates classic digital synthesis sounds. And it does so using this wonderful patch panel that lets you dig in and, in a very modular way, design sounds. So you're no longer limited to just choosing a preset algorithm. Now you can create your own. So using frequency modulation, we can get these classic sounds going. And give you another example. So there are some very recognizable timbres from the era of digital synthesizers, and that sound actually uses our STR1 engine, which I'll get to in a second, to complement Mod 7. One of the other cool things about Mod 7 is that, again, these controls over on the left side of the keyboard can be used to dramatically alter the sound. So for this example, I'll move the vector joystick and affect the modulation. Here's another great example that shows off something cool that Mod 7 can do. We can actually incorporate a PCM waveform and have that modulate some of the VPM oscillators that are in here. So if I jump over to the oscillator tab, I can see that I've got individual adjustments for each of the VPM oscillators, and I can also modulate using this PCM sample that we've thrown in there. And the guided tour continues with the STR1 plucked string physical modeling engine. What STR1 gives you is a representation of a physical string, which you can pluck, scrape, or strike in any position and modify its physical properties. So, for example, here's an acoustic bass. Now again, we've got some clues here. Joystick, -Y, and vector joystick. So as I pull down on the joystick here, it allows me to actually bow the string instead of plucking it. Now as we zoom in on STR1, we see that we can also incorporate some multi-samples. So we can sneak some PCM samples in there and use that to add some depth to the sound. And if we jump over to the string page, we can modify things like excitation, damping, non-linearity, and that's a very cool one. It's really good for recreating acoustic sounds like guitars and harps, harpsichords, and basses, but it's also good for going very far beyond what you thought a plucked string could actually do. The last synth engine on the tour is HD1. This is our high-definition sample playback engine. So you can see as I page through here, we've got beautiful graphic representations of the instruments that we're recreating, and we cover the entire gamut. So for example, here's some trumpets. As we play with some of these sounds, you can see that we've got expansion libraries loaded. One of the great things about Khronos is that it has an internal solid-state drive, and we can directly access these sounds. So instead of dealing with a ROM size that's measured in megabytes, we've got nearly 12 gigabytes worth of sounds that we can play back directly from that internal solid-state drive. One great example of these new large sample libraries is our drum kits. So here's an example of a jazz kit. We've not only sampled the kit, but we have another layer of room ambience. So what I can do is use sliders 1 and 2 to blend smoothly and adjust the amount of room ambience or the dry kit sound that I want. We also have a new vintage keyboards library, and here's a great example of a clav. The drums that I'm playing along with here are part of the drum track. So drum track gives you access to almost 700 different rhythmic grooves, many of which were played in by professional musicians such as Ricky Lawson, and they're just always there to give you a quick rhythmic inspiration. Along with the clavs, we also have some terrific tape-based string, choir, flute sounds that are very recognizable. Just like on the original instrument, the tapes run out after 8 seconds. Things start to get really interesting when you jump over to combi mode. A combi lets you combine all 9 synthesis engines, 16 timbres total, each of which has its own dedicated 3-band EQ. And of course you can add karma, just like you can in program mode, to give yourself rhythms, bass lines, and all kinds of flexible animation. Khronos also includes an incredibly powerful sampler with about a gigabyte's worth of RAM to get you started. Now, as you can see here, we have access to the waveform right on the display. We can zoom in and out, and we have some great useful tools like crossfade loop, time slice, time stretch, and you can read WAV files, Akai format programs and samples, AIF, sound font level 2, so it's extremely flexible. Khronos also includes a sequencer with 16 MIDI tracks and 16 audio tracks. Those audio tracks can be recorded at 24-bit, so you can have some very high-resolution, great-sounding audio, and combine that with our very, very powerful effects system. And I'll quickly jump over to a combi so you can see the effects as they might be programmed. You can see our routing page is very flexible. You can route more than one timbre to a specific effect. So we transcend the boundaries of a rack full of hardware gear, and that's a very cool thing. So you have 12 insert effects, along with 2 stereo master effects and 2 stereo total effects. And of course you can zoom in on each one of them, and you have all the parameters laid out in front of you. Another terrific aspect of Khronos is that all of this functions as a plugin from within your favorite DAW. So you might want to park it in sequence mode because you'll have access to all 16 timbres at once, and the included software editor will let you point and click your way through the interface, and when you save your project in your favorite VST or audio units capable host, it will save the state of Khronos along with it. So next time you load that project, Khronos will set itself up just the way you left it. One other very cool thing I want to show you is that we've actually built the manual right into Khronos. If you press the help button, you get context-sensitive help for whatever you're trying to do. And you can zoom in and look at beautiful graphics that are right from the manual, and scroll down using the value slider or just touch on the display, and it'll walk you through whatever process you're trying to accomplish. Another neat thing is you can hold down the help button, touch a control, and it gives you help specific to the control that you touched. Another great aspect of the help system is that it walks you through synthesis engines that you might not be familiar with. So, for example, here's a guided tour for Mod 7. I'll just touch Overview. The tutorial below provides a guided tour of the Mod 7 synthesis capabilities. They start with a little background information and then dive right into step-by-step instructions for creating simple sounds from scratch using all of the Mod 7's major features. And it even explains how to import your classic DX sounds into Mod 7, so it's very comprehensive. we are just scratching the surface here. There is much more to Khronos than can be explained in a quick video. So if you'd like to learn more, there are many other videos at Craft and at Korg. And once again, I'm Rich Formidoni from Korg USA, and thanks very much for watching.